Well, this may be one of the funnest ways to help January pass quickly before gardening season, and that is spending it with friends. I am here with my adorable friend, Michele, and that is going to be the topic of our conversation today because, there's an epidemic of loneliness out there. I think especially among those of us that are older. And when you're young, it's easy to make friends. You're constantly doing things together. You're in sports together. You're in sororities together. When your kids are young, they're all going to school together.
Yeah.
But when you get to be of a certain age, or you have recently moved to a new town at any age, it can be hard to make friends.
It sure can.
And so that is going to be our topic of conversation today. And I've invited Michele because she, I think, personifies most of the tips and most of the hints that we can share with you about how to not only make new friends, but also how to make friends of any age.
Well, that's so sweet. Thank you.
Well, I think it's incumbent upon us to make friends at any age and make friends of any age, because I think different generations provide different,
we need a connection between
gifts.
generations.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And they restore you in different ways. So your memory is probably better than mine. So you want to share kind of how we developed a friendship over time?
We did. So we kind of became closer just by living in the area, having similar styles and ideas, and then we kind of became. And then you came over and did the house tour.
Right. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong. So you were a follower, and you reached out. And then we discovered that we shared a lot in common, our love of natural beauty.
Well, and I bought a topiary from you at
That's right.
the topiary sale.
That's right.
That was forever and ever ago.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So then I said...
I got to meet you, and I was so excited.
Well, and I can't remember if we visited or not, but
Yeah,
I do remember reaching out saying, I bet your home is going to be absolutely fabulous. So, Stuart, we need to put up, if we can, right here, let's put up a little bit of B-roll from when we went to visit your home. It was an extremely popular video. And then we came over and we did some crafts. You showed me how to, you brought me some of your matches.
I was looking for the matches.
Yes. I've got one right here, Stuart.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, made some custom matches for me. And so I knew we needed to go shoot. So then we went out and we shot at your house. But then, this I think is the tipping point, because it's what you do after those initial contacts, those initial meetings and events. And so this is why I think Michele is the perfect example, and then I'll let you take it from here. After that, we just corresponded. And by corresponded, I mean, if you saw something of a topiary or something, you'd send me an image. If I saw an image, I would send it to you. So what that does, I think, is kind of break the ice. And then you take it away. You invited me to...
Yeah, we went to an event here in the city, and just had fun and had a drink and chatted and had some dinner. And we had our salad
at Bradford House.
Yeah, salad with French fries, which was the perfect dinner. Because that is just the perfect
That
dinner.
is for both of us. That is the perfect dinner. And I think we had some delicious beverage. I remember it was hot as hell.
It was hot. It was very,
oh my gosh.
About 100 degrees outside. And everything was on the porch.
Yes.
Yes.
And we ducked under cover into air conditioning. But I think it was there that we began to visit, and that's, I think, where you make your connections. But what she did was she reached out to me. And you have to be proactive. If you really want to make new friends, you really have to get outside of your comfort zone, and you have to say, I think we gelled. Do you want to go and do something? And that is the major step that showed your confidence. You kind of went first.
Well, I feel like practice. I think of things in terms of practicing. whenever I get a little bit more reclusive, I have to go out and practice socializing again. Whenever I want to make friends, I have to kind of practice instigating friendships and forging relationships. I've seen that throughout my young adult, my mid-adult, life, is that everything takes practice. And especially if I feel drawn to somebody and I know we have a lot in common, like with you, because just of the years that we've kind of formed a relationship online of just a friendship and an acquaintanceship, I knew that we got along. And then, and as you get older, it is harder to make friends, and the friends that you had don't necessarily, just because you're friends 10 years ago doesn't mean you have things in common
such a good point.
10 years later. And I think as you get older too, you become more retrospective and you think a lot about the kinds of people you want to spend your time with.
Yeah.
Do I want to invest certain things into this relationship? Be it a romantic one, a friendship, a relationship with a business, whatever. And it's just so important to practice, I think, those types of things.
And I think before, you get into a relationship, you have to have maybe a sense of, am I going to get as much out of this as I'm putting into it?
Absolutely.
Not that it has to be that way, but I think when you get older, you develop some self-knowledge of yourself, and this is what I need in a friendship. Even Stuart is just shaking.
Well,
his
you get
head.
to know yourself as you get older. And
Yeah.
By natural, you're going to have to find people that fit the person you now are.
Yeah.
And
I think
find
that's
new people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So speak a little bit more about how, convenience is part of it.
Yes.
But also stage of life is part of it. So talk a little bit more about how you feel. Do you feel guilty about those friends that you had 10 years ago? Do you still stay in touch with them, or has that friendship evolved? Talk to me a little bit more about that, because I think we all experience that.
Well, and I do want to say, I feel like I should put a disclaimer, because I'm sure that there would be certain people that you would talk to that might feel negatively about me if I, because we're no longer friends, right? I think everybody has to think of themselves as the number one first, to say, what is it that I am going to bring to the friendship? What is it I need, and what is it that I'm best at giving a relationship? And that's kind of where part of that is practicing some of that. Part of it is also acknowledging the reality, and then also acknowledging, this is where I'm at. And even with different people, it might be different things. Some people, if they need a little bit more, then if you're willing to give that means that that's going to be a better relationship. If that's not something that you can give as much of yourself, then it's probably not going to work out if that person needs more than you're willing to give. I think, I do think that there have been
Let me interrupt you for a minute. Would you say you have more friends or fewer friends as you've gotten older, and what is the nature of your friendship? Are some just more superficial, and are some more substantive?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that when you told me that we were going to be talking about this today. I was really thinking about that, and that is such a hard question, because I feel like really close friendships I have fewer as I've gotten older. I do think it's because I am a personality, and I do think this is different from everyone, and there is no judgment from me. I'm a personality that doesn't need that as much as some people might. So some people might need that more, and then that's great, but I am not really that personality. And so acknowledging that, I think knowing myself as much as I do now, I just don't have as many really close friendships. I think that friendships a lot are geography. How close are you? Where you live, to your kids, to what you're doing at that stage of your life. I think that it has been hard, because, you reach a point where you kind of say, okay, I need to kind of do a mental flushing of some relationships that maybe no longer work for any party involved. And that's probably been one of the harder things, because my husband's time, or, your partner, whoever, is really special and important as you get older. It's precious. And especially if you have loss and you kind of really reevaluate your surroundings. And I feel like making those decisions to really say, I'm putting a boundary up of guarding our time, it's precious, and setting, really strict boundaries around that can really be hard for people sometimes to
it's not as if there's any malevolence involved.
No.
You're not. It's sometimes it's just practical. You're taking care of aging parents, or you're taking care of helping with a grandbaby, or you're helping with obviously your own children place lots of demands on you. And I think it's also important to say there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
I think it's a good thing to have friends of varying degrees of intimacy. So you have your few really good friends. And I heard something recently, and boy, it really resonated with me. This was in a podcast. And they said that one way to judge who your really good friends are, you think, how many really good friends do you have? And I think the lens we typically look through is, that it would be, okay, what friends would really be there for me in the event of an emergency, or if I really needed them, or whatever. And you have, obviously, yes, you have those friends that you are really sure would be there for you. But they said, now look at it through the lens, and these may be your truly close friends. How many people do you know that you would call up to share really great news? And you know that they could accept it just out of love and be happy for you, not be jealous, not feel more poorly about themselves. You wouldn't hesitate to tell them, because you know that they would be absolutely thrilled for you. And likewise, you would be absolutely thrilled for them if something good happened to them. That really narrows it down.
Yes, I was going to say.
That really narrows it down to, okay, so then these are the people, and sometimes it may be just family members, or sometimes it may not even include family members. Well, another thing we bonded over, I think, is our love of nature and the intrinsic beauty of just natural things, whether it's flora and fauna, or skulls, or any of that kind of thing. I think we just bonded over the inherent beauty of nature. And you've got lots of representation of that in your home. And when you came to the cottage to visit, you showed me some of the pictures, and I immediately had the vapors and thought, I need to come and see. So this wall right here, first of all, as soon as I saw it, it screamed Monticello to me, because it is very, very reminiscent of Thomas Jefferson's home, Monticello, in the entryway. Tell me a little bit about your inspiration for this. And
I was inspired on our trip to Scotland this last year, and we stayed at the Five Arms, which is this beautifully amazing hotel that is just beautifully designed. And when I came back, I already had a few pieces, but I knew I wanted to do a larger collection and focus mainly on the type of deer that are around the area. We do not have roe deer, so all of the European roe deer heads are European and from Austria and Germany, but a lot of the other deer are whitetail, which we have in our local area. And I try to do things that are around
they're
here.
indigenous
Yes.
to Oklahoma.
So it was
How did you source most of them?
Online.
Online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and make deals and
Yeah.
and just collect as much as you can. Yeah.
Well, they're beautiful. And interestingly, the other thing that we were talking about, the Fife Arm, I'm going to Scotland in June, and my kids had just come back from there and had also stayed there. It's right near Balmoral.
Yes.
And so we were talking about a number of the things that you saw there that really spoke to you and really influenced your decor in terms of plaid and natural things like this that you use to decorate the interior of your house. And I really love that. Now, as a warning, you guys, there's just so much to see.
Trying to do that.
Yeah, there's just so much to see that we're going to try to make some sense out of this. But first of all, when you come in, your vista, your focal point is through these two doors that open up out to the pool area and to outside, and the more gorgeous old cross timber, I guess. Cross timber, black oak forest that is very, very much a part of Oklahoma and a part of Edmond. And it's just outside her door. And then how would you describe your decor, your aesthetic? I see definitely notes of William Morris here in both the fabric on your settee and also on the shades. How would you describe your aesthetic?
I would describe it as, if I like it, I do it.
Okay. Okay.
That's
a good
aesthetic.
I think that's a great motto to go by.
I'm inspired constantly by other designers and other individuals and by nature, and I just kind of go with what is feels good, and then also trying to find a bridge between my husband's minimalism and my maximalism. And so, believe it or not, this is a bridge to that. Because I would probably be a little bit more maximalist if it were not
and he might be a little bit more minimalist.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, marriage is a compromise.
It sure is.
I love your gallery wall over here. I love the portrait of Lincoln, but equally as much, is Calvin your son?
He is, yes.
Yes, and I love that. And I also and who is this down here?
This is me. He painted that for me for Mother's Day.
I love it. I love the blue in that. And it's just fun.
Yeah, it's a collection of things and room to keep adding.
I was going to just say that. You definitely have room to keep adding. And is this panel over here, is this, it is just a panel. At first, from a distance with Stuart standing there, it looked like it almost might be a door. But it is definitely really an eclectic gallery wall. And look at these gorgeous malachite obelisks. Those are wonderful. Now we must ask where you sourced those.
So those, I actually made those.
You made those?
I did, yes.
Oh my word.
Yeah,
you decoupaged those.
I did, yeah.
And the framework for them is something...
Is wood.
Is wood. Well, we're definitely going to get into that decoupage thing here using something that I alluded to earlier, which are these beautiful matches. And she's going to show us in another segment how to do that. I see tones of lots of plaid everywhere. I love that. Something else, first of all, like I say, there's just so many different things to look at. But look at the toadstool pillow. Now, did you make that?
No, I did not. No, that was a purchase, yeah.
Okay, that's very, very cute. I'm a girl who loves any kind of plaid throws, and you've got a collection of plaid throws on a bamboo stand.
Well, and these doors...
over in the corner.
They can open up and fold back, and we have a screen that comes down.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's nice to have the blankets if we want to have it a little chillier in here, and we can just cuddle. We can cuddle on those, or we can bring them outside for fall.
Yeah, the essence of that indoor-outdoor living that you and I both like. Okay, on today's Walking Life, I'm going to take you to an absolutely darling boutique, the Cargo Room. It's around 10th and Broadway here in Oklahoma City, right near Coffee Slingers. So you can grab a Joe and you can drink it while you shop. It's really a wonderful place. The store owner is very, very helpful. It's got a wide array of products, and it's just a fun place if you want to get kind of a very specific curated look and maybe shop for some Valentine's Day gifts. Okay, so I'm going to go in, and already I can tell that they've got all sorts of stuff out for Valentine's Day. Look at all of this pretty in pink kind of gifts items. And by the way, they have clothing. They have clothing for little ones. They have, like I say, some gift items if you're looking to get a Valentine or a Galentine. And let me see if I can find Heather. Heather, here you are. There you are, pretty in pink. I am good. So this is Heather, the shop owner.
Hi.
And Heather, tell us a little bit about the cargo room.
Yes, so the cargo room, we're based in Otto Alley in Oklahoma City. We've been around for 10 years, or we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. So yeah, we're here. We serve women and we also serve our baby community.
Well, and it looks like
then-
you're going to be having a new customer pretty soon.
We will. A new little
patron.
model, a new customer, yes. Little girl coming this May.
Well, this is one of my favorite places to walk to from my house. There's such charming little stores all up and down here. And this is one of my favorite places that I always stop in, and especially around now Valentine's Day, because you've got, it looks like just a ton of really, really fun things. And cute little kid things. But lots of fun ideas. But I've got some challenges for you today. Okay, so I'm cleaning out my closet, as so many of us are doing in January. Decluttering, getting rid of things I don't wear, trying to style the things that I already have. And I have identified 3 wardrobe mistakes that I make over and over again. And I thought maybe I would challenge you, given some of the stuff you have here, to help me think through my challenges and maybe come up with some solutions.
All right,
okay.
I'm here for that.
Okay, so my wardrobe problem number 1 is, you'd think I was just trapped in the 80s, because when I go shopping, I still instinctively shop in a way as if I was still in the business world. And I tend to really be drawn to things that are structured, that kind of look like workplace place clothing. You know, I love long, straight pencil skirts, that kind of thing, heels. I don't live that kind of life anymore. And so tell me how I can kind of reframe it so that I can get the things about that kind of lifestyle that appeal to me, but not make the mistake of buying things I won't wear because I just don't live that kind of life anymore.
Yeah, so we love a good mix and match. So we love to mix certain pieces that fit kind of the lifestyle a little bit more. So you've actually done a great job today by pulling in a hoodie, but then also pairing it with a blazer overneath. So you're still getting kind of that structured look, but still with some comfort. And so I've also tried to do the same thing, just use a casual dress, but also using some structure over the top, but then pairing like a little sneaker with it too. That fits my lifestyle a little bit more because I'm on my feet a lot. So I think when you're going in, you just have to look and see, what can I mix and match kind of to have the more structured pieces, but also the more casual pieces that can maybe fit the lifestyle.
Okay, so let's look for a couple of examples because let's look for a couple of examples, because some people, you know, they just need a little bit of inspiration, and a lot of you guys I know are still in the workforce. But if you want to be wise about making a really economical purchase, you want to be able to wear them for all different facets of your life, whether it's just casual, you're out and about on a you know, Saturday, or you're in the workplace. So show us a couple of pieces that you put together that could kind of translate from workplace to out and about Saturday.
Okay, so, well, we've got a lot. Obviously, our examples are very Valentine's Day focused, but you can see too, we've actually paired, this is a little bit more of a fancier skirt, but it's actually a t-shirt paired under it. But we've just added something on top too to give it a little bit more structure. So you've got your casual look. So if you wanted to have something more casual and with elegance right here, like the tulle skirt. So you have this, or you can pair this over the top to kind of pull it all together. So we have looks like that. So again, it's mixing and matching t-shirts with like a little bit more of pizzazz, and here's some structure.
And some structure, and you could definitely make this look less whimsical in the workplace by maybe pairing it with black or pearls, more of a more conservative look. Okay, so we've been doing some things recently on my channel, thrifting and finding fun t-shirts and things. So right here, right here, this actually it addresses another challenge that I have, which we'll get to later. But that is when I sometimes buy a fun statement piece and then I don't always wear it. And I actually have a really fun skirt like this that has black flowers all over it, but I have seldom worn it. And now I know to just dress it down with a t-shirt and maybe put some kind of cardigan over it.
Yeah, you can do that. And then I've seen a lot of girls pair, again, sneakers with a dress like that or a skirt.
Right. I like that sweater too. Yeah, that's so fun. And this sweater, right now I'm just seeing all sorts of match this with that. Oh, how cute would this be? Something like this, and then on a Saturday with some jeans and and
because you can also easily replace the tulle skirt, add some jeans, still keep the t-shirt with the structure on top, and then you have kind of a more Saturday outfit.
Okay, got it.
Let's see what else we can show too. So we have, again, a lot of layers here. So this is a good one too, that you can kind of mix and match for the workforce, but then also move it into like a casual Saturday. So this is a trouser here, but we've layered it too with a vest, but you can also easily take the vest off. We are huge fans of layering. So these are kind of more of your business button down, which I'm sure your closet has a lot of from your previous years. So take that, but then layer it over like just a simple, like easy, sweater.
Well, and I'm so glad that you pulled this piece out, and I think I see it over here. Okay, so actually, let's start back based on something Stuart said, and that is that if you run into somebody that you haven't seen in 4 or 5 years or whatever, and if they immediately you feel like they're guilting you, that might be a toxic friendship that you don't necessarily want to maintain in your life. If they embrace you and you picked up exactly where you left off, then that's fine. It may not mean you meet up for lunch again the next month, but that person still holds an important place in your life. Now, my husband has friends, we've discussed this before, because not only did Michele and I continue to get together, you and your husband invited Jamie and myself out to dinner, so she was proactive about that. The 4 of us got together. We hope to which was so fun.
So fun.
And we shared realize how many more things we shared in common. But my husband, he still has some of his same friends that he knew when he was literally in nursery school together. Now, do they correspond every single day? No. But are they still in contact? Yes. Some people are still very, very good friends that they were in a sorority with or that they went to college with. And for them, that's great because for one reason or another, convenience might make it so. But then there are other instances of somebody who remains in your life just because they played an important role. So, and this is kind of a segue into another conversation about, I think as you get older, it's important to have friends of all ages. And way back when I was in my 20s, I worked for an oil and gas company in human resources, and my boss at that time, she was probably, I don't even know, 15, 20 years older than me. And I was in my 20s, and I only worked there for a year, but every year on our birthdays, we call each other. So she's now in her she's now in her 80s, and it's still because she played a pivotal, she was a good mentor to me. Yeah. And I, as a young person, in some ways, made some kind of contribution to her life. And after all these years, now we don't see each other every day or whatever, but we still honor that connection that makes me feel, I don't know, I love those kind of enduring relationships because growing up, we moved around so much. I don't have lots of long enduring relationships.
Yeah.
So do you?
I have a few friends that I've known for a long time, but no.
Yeah. I
guess no, because it is harder to maintain some of those things, especially great distance. Mm-hmm. It gets harder, and you kind of, I think there's a natural growing apart period, but I have friends that I have known, and I think at this point they're more acquaintances. Yeah. The friendship doesn't necessarily maintain the same level. Certainly not from when I was a lot younger, but the majority of my friends today, I've known them for 20, 25 years. Yeah. That's just the nature of also kind of staying in the same place. Yeah. I moved away when I was younger and moved back, so I have some friends that from, when I was younger that live in other states. Mm-hmm. But it's really, my husband has a friend that he went to, grade school, middle school, and it's really neat, to see their friendship through the lens of just looking at long distance and, you know, extended friendships, because it is fun to hear stories and to see this, you know, this interesting friendship develop over growth of an adult, you know, as a human. You know, we change so much every year, and everybody becomes different, even if we don't want to necessarily admit it. And I mean, it's neat whenever you can kind of have, I hate to say more of a superficial relationship, but I do think that superficial relationships are very important. I think that it can sometimes be polarizing as a friend to have somebody that's so in depth. Not that you don't want to have in-depth conversations. You know, you need to have commonalities, but you don't want to polarize your friendship to the point that, you know, you don't have a friendship. I mean, it's and it's really neat to kind of have commonalities and to agree kind of on your world and the life around you, but then you're also so different that you can just have, you can enjoy the little things, or you can enjoy
And I think that's okay. And one thing, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned is that people come in and out of your life, and when they come in and out and they make their entrance and exit, your respective roles and the degree of depth of that friendship can change. So my very best friend introduced my husband and myself, and I've known her for years through former boyfriends or whatever. Now I talk to her almost daily. We see each other almost daily, partly because she lives in the neighborhood, partly because my choice was intentional to move closer to where she was. But throughout the course of our 30-year relationship, was it like that? No. I mean, it ebbed and it flowed, and it ebbed and it flowed. And that's why sometimes relationships that are initially a little more superficial can evolve over time, and then you really meet one another's needs. So when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about two different things specifically. If you are moving to a new location, or you're wanting to start a friendship with someone, what do you do? I mean, what are concrete steps that you do? What are the risks and the rewards? And then what are also some just common sense things where you can make friends with people on your street just by willing to engage? Yeah, so this is, you know, this would be fun. I mean, if you were really daring, with some really tall and very young, with some really tall thigh-high boots.
We actually had a vest over the holidays that it was, you know, people opted either vest or dress, and yeah, they did it with really tall boots and very cute style.
Yeah. Well, that is neither my lifestyle nor my age.
Yeah, well, same, not for me.
So we'll move on, but you guys definitely, they have so many different fun things. And when I come to places like this, even if I don't buy anything, I'm shopping for ideas and combinations as much as anything. And that speaks to why for Valentine's Day, or really any time of year, in addition to shooting or to purchasing online, you might also want to purchase at your local vendors. Because of that very reason, you tap into your expertise.
Yes, yeah. So not only are we encouraging all of our employees to try things on, learn about fits, learn about how to style certain body types, color combination, what works with your skin tone. So we're constantly trying to educate ourselves on how we can help you. Even if you're, again, not purchasing things, but what's in your existing closet and how you can mix and match and what's going to work for your body style or certain occasions.
Yeah. And like another thing for me, sometimes how do you take care of something? Like I'm looking at this beautiful sequin jacket here.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, okay, but then how do I take care of it after I get it? If I really don't want to spend a lot of money on dry cleaning, you know, how do I care for the clothing?
And that's one of the things too. We always look when we're getting new pieces in, we look at how to care for it. Is it dry clean only? And that is something that we mentioned too when a customer is looking at something, just in case that's not something that they're looking for. We often try to mention that. We also try to recommend certain washing guidelines and things like that. So when they get it home, they know how to care for it, and that way it can prolong the life of the brand.
Life of it.
Yeah, the life
okay, my next challenge, let's go and show some other fun things. My next challenge is that I tend to buy the same things over and over again just because I like it.
Yes.
So consequently, I have, I don't know how many blue and white striped collared shirts.
That's happened to me as well.
Yeah, because I like it, and I do wear all of them. I have no real favorite, but nevertheless, I need one more striped shirt, like a hole in the head, and yet I come over and I see things that I just naturally migrate to, and I think because it's kind of in my comfort zone.
Yes.
And it's hard to get out of your comfort zone.
Yes.
So how would you address something like that?
So usually when we have customers, because that does happen quite often in our store, so we do have customers that'll come in and say the same thing. So we kind of give them a couple of tips too. So one is if you're looking at something that you already have, that's the first question we ask. Is what do you have that's similar to your closet? And have you worn that recently? So that's a question that we ask them. We also can ask them, if this is a new piece that you're bringing in, what are 3 places that you think that you could wear it to? So kind of give them that little trick, can you name 3 places that you will wear this to? Because otherwise it may just sit in your closet. And the other is the walk away trick too, where we ask them, can you walk away? And if you forget about it, that means that you don't need it, then you can live without it. But if you keep thinking about it, that means that you really love it and you'll come back and make the purchase.
Yeah, you're willing to make a commitment. So when my daughter-in-law Taylor was here, she was really eyeing really eyeing this coat.
So very classic.
And just very, very classic things. And I think that's what I like about the cargo room is it's got classic stuff, but it's also got whimsical stuff. Like how cute is this sweater? Let me see if I can get it off here. Look at how cute is that. Oh, wow. And again, I guess this leads me into my third challenge.
Yes.
And my third challenge is I'll see something like this. And I'll be drawn to it because it's so bright and it's so whimsical. But I'm somebody that doesn't like to wear the same thing more than once. And boy, this would shout every time I wore it. It would shout, "Oh, I remember that."
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that dilemma when you want? If you want something
more of the trendy side.
How do you justify that as a purchase?
I think again too, it's how you style it. So you could style this with jeans, and that's one look, and more of a casual look. You can also, how we have it on the front, like with a bright skirt. So that's kind of more of your evening, festive look there too. You can also put, a little jumper underneath too. So there's different ways that you can style it to make sure that it kind of looks different each time. And also the accessories that you pair with it too. So you could wear a hat with it one day, and that's kind of more your statement piece. A headband, different things like that, just to kind of differentiate it from time to time.
Well, and I just thought, and you also don't have to use it, I guess, in all of its boldness, because if you had it under, some kind of neutral jacket where only this part was showing or whatever, then it would still, and we're all into layering now because of the way the weather's been.
Yes.
Is it like half sleeping bag?
I know, all I know is it looks very warm.
It is very comfortable, yes. I know in Oklahoma, you just never know what you're going to get. So it's all about layers.
You never know.
Yes.
Okay, but you also have really fun. I've purchased earrings here before and some fun things. So you have little gifty items that are just.
Yes. So we like to carry a lot of items that are either little pick-me-up things for yourself or giftable items too, because we have a lot of people that come in to get gifts for their loved ones. And so we like to offer those options as well.
Well, and you can put a whole bunch of stuff together. Okay, so Laura was over here bossing us around. She was telling us, this is Laura and this is Haley. Haley is the store manager and Laura's the social media person.
We were talking about gifts and we have a whole self-care.
Yes, she would not be in retail if she did not show us. Us this stuff.
This is new for this year, so I really wanted to bring in stuff that's about self-care, more gifting items too, because again, the area that we're in, we do get a lot of people that come in for quick gifts. So we want to be able to provide them with those options. Grab something for a coworker, grab something for if they're heading out to dinner after work with a friend. We also offer card options and gift wrapping.
Okay, and look at these cute little bags. I mean, these cute little bags are just, I don't know. I think they speak to the little girl in all of us.
Yes.
Really cute.
And we love
really
to
fun.
do like customization too. So coming in, we do it's about twice a year. It's called a bag bar, where people can come in, either buy a purse from us or bring in their own purse. And then we can customize it with little scarves, or certain keychains. and we just kind of make it your own.
And I think, now see, this is a perfect example.
Blue and white, are you
I
gravitating
see this and I
towards
think,
that?
oh my gosh, look at this, wonderful, wonderful. And do you know how, impractical it is, and do you know how many of these cream or white blazers
Yep.
I have? Because I just love that. You know, I just love that look. Well, this is just so dear of you to spend time with us.
Yes.
This is why you want to come in, because they will spend time with you.
Yes.
One thing I have done before is, one thing I've done before is I've brought in my own piece of clothing.
Yes.
And then look for things to style it with. And
Yes.
that thing about, you know, can you take one thing and wear it 3 different ways
Yeah.
or with 4 different things in your closet?
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really valuable tip. When you come, don't overlook. I'm really, oh my gosh, I saw these little sweaters, and I remember my boys having sweaters like this when they were little. So they, yeah. What do you?
I know.
This.
You can see the little
Look at this.
mannequin.
Look at this. That is so cute.
Yes.
And what I also love is guess what this whole collection is entitled? Precious Cargo.
That's right.
How clever. How clever is that? And then they wouldn't be a fun place to shop if they didn't also have sale stuff. And being kind of very much of a hat person, I'm looking at some of these green chapeaux because I don't have a green one. I have every other shade, I think. Well, this has just been so fun. Thank you,
Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And definitely I've gotten some ideas for both Valentine's that my hubs can gift
Yes.
to me, but also some Galentine gifts that I can give to others. Stuart, I think you need to get Julia that pink and white gingham puff jacket.
Yes,
because
we
it's-
do get many men come in this time of year looking for gifts,
I
and that's
bet.
also what we're here to. We're here to help.
And the other thing is it's very cross-generational for young, really
Yes.
little people, teenagers, preteens.
And that's our goal, to kind of have something that kind of fits everybody and every lifestyle.
Yeah,
And
it's just
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you, dear.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's come over here. This area is actually rather open, though divided up into different spaces. So this obviously is the dining room. Look at this table. So tell me about the table.
The table was a purchase years ago, and my husband and I, we bought it when we lived in a different home, and it was very, very large for our tiny home. And so, but we kept it, we made it work, and when we moved, it was just perfect in this space. And we were so excited to continue to keep it.
And speaking of when you moved, you bought this home from your parents
We
who
did.
used to live here. And you said at that time it was more kind of Southwestern decor, and you have it, well, in your own style, your own expression.
Yeah, it was rustic and worked really well for their aesthetic at that time. But we wanted to change things up a bit and make it a little lighter and a little more cottagey or eclectic.
Yeah. And just more expressive of your personality.
Yeah.
So are you a trained designer? Are you just an artist? How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as an artist. I am not a trained designer. I just read a lot and make mistakes and then try and go fix them.
Yeah, or travel to wonderful places.
That's right, yes.
And bring back and try to incorporate some of those touch points into your own home.
I'm always inspired.
And speaking of, you called this, when we walked in, you called this your little boost of serotonin. So I'm going to guess that you decoupaged a number of these things.
Yes.
Wow, so fun. So fun. And there's great fragrance here. It's a very sensual experience. There's quiet music, which I love, playing in the background. She's got a candle lit. Is that a chihuly?
It is. That was an inherited piece from my grandmother. She loved her chihuly piece.
My favorite colors too.
And so I was very fortunate. It is beautiful, and I'm very excited to have it on my table.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's just poetic, way that lavender tulip just kind of uses that as a backdrop. It's just those little poetic moments, I think, that just give us joy.
Oh, yes.
And that's just lovely. And then you've got a whole bunch
Of matches.
because they're just so cool. And you are a lover of malachite. I am too.
I do. I like the stone. It's just, I think it's, again, bringing nature in. All of those stone elements, that there's really a part of my brain that it speaks to.
Yeah.
And it feels very comforting to have that, to where I can see it. And I enjoy having it out. It was another compromise that we made by allowing, because we don't have a big family, we didn't need the whole table. And so I really wanted to have things that were sitting out that we could view and kind of glimpse.
And appreciate.
Yeah.
So I would say two things about this. Number one, I think it's very, very intentional. This isn't just a hodgepodge of things. I'm going to guess this is a still life that is constantly changing. Seasonally, with your temperament, with your mood, with whatever. And it's very reflective of the dynamic of your decorating styles, i.e. your husband and you. So that's my question of the day. If you have made compromises with your significant other, whoever that may be, whether it's just a child that you live with or whomever, if you have made concessions, compromises, then I would like to know what they are, because this has been one of the most creative expressions of that I have seen. And I just, like I say, this is just a wonderful, wonderful tableau that speaks to two different personalities and how they came to some consensus
Thank you.
in your style. Let's take a break here, absorb this beauty, and we're going to move on to the kitchen. Well, you make passage from the dining area into this incredible kitchen, which I would guess is the heart of the home.
It really is, yes. This is the main room. And, the open concept has kind of gone in and out over the years. And I really do. I like the idea of both different concepts. But it's been really wonderful to have everything happening in this one space. And especially at the holidays when I'm cooking or baking with my son, we can just stand in here, watch TV, and it's just very cozy.
Yeah, it really is very, very cozy. And I think any kitchen that has a fireplace is just a wonderful thing. And look here, as any true chatelaine would have, look at this wonderful spread that she's got for us. I love this ice bucket. I have seen this and almost purchased it in the past, but I love, again, it's that echoing the nature and cork and materials and just the textures of things. And I just love that. And we are drinking delicious peach tea in these wonderful glasses. Okay, now I feel compelled with practically everything to ask its provenance, where you got it. So Leah wanted to know, and these are just like, I love the fact that these are textured, and it's got these raised dots or raised whatever they are, dollops on here. So do you remember where you got these?
I did. I got them at a local store at BC Clark.
Oh, anybody in Oklahoma will recognize BC Clark anniversary sale.
But they have some really nice, affordable things in their homeware selection, along with really high-end things.
Yes.
But they have these glasses, and you can get them in all different colors, dots.
Oh, wow.
And they're just so fun for
They almost look like little balloons to me.
Yeah. Very whimsical.
Yes. And Leah also wanted to know where you got this fish carafe.
The fish carafe is from Food 52, which...
I love Food 52.
Yes, they have amazing, all over the board items, and it was just a great find.
And then just a wonderful spread of pistachios and cheeses and crackers and fruit. Just all very, very, very lovely. So Stuart, if you can, just kind of take in the magnitude of the room. And again, I love the eclectic nature of the artwork. Something that is interesting to me, it seems kind of a recent thing, where lately when I go into people's homes, much more emphasis on the artwork now. I don't know if it was all part of the gallery wall phenomenon, which, some say comes and goes. I don't think it's ever gone.
Right.
And it seems to me that there's much more emphasis on the vertical spaces in both large homes or small homes like mine, much more emphasis on vertical decor and what's hanging there, and a real important way to show your personality and show your interests in what you have hanging on the wall, and you are no exception. I mean, the variety of things that you have is fun. It's from different vintages. I see a little bit Art Nouveau there in the light. Tell me more about so you find stuff from everywhere.
I do, yes. Some of these pieces over here, the top and the bottom, are my son's artwork from when he was little, and had it framed to where we can change it out. The middle piece is an artist friend of my husband's and I that lives in Portland. And this piece here, John Byrne of Self-Portrait, was purchased in Glasgow in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
And that was a really exciting piece that we found in a really neat art studio in Glasgow. And I love traveling because it gives you, just have those pieces with you of your trip.
Yeah, and when you come back, they have so much more import than they would if you just bought them locally or whatever. Even if it's not an expensive piece of art, if you bought it someplace that reminds you of a happy time, I think that's important. Now, I am also a gal, as are you, that loves a wonderful bar moment. And this is just what a great bar. So tell me about the chest and then the variety of things you have here.
The chest was a Pottery Barn piece that was just a great find. And the bar items actually were all inherited from my grandparents. They had all these decanters. And so I was really excited to be able to incorporate those into our space, as just to have not only a piece of them, but then also display our barware beautifully.
And I love, this is such a great idea sometimes, particularly after a loved one's passing, or there's just all of these things and you're not really sure what to do with them. You want to have some kind of meaningful use for them. And things like this little cup or whatever it is, and you've got, these are adorable. I've got to have some of these little picks. May I touch?
Sure.
Yeah, I just have to have some of these.
Well, and I will tell you, so that the vessel came from my grandparents, and then I also kept and took a few other small vessels like that, and then for Christmas I gifted with the toothpicks in there. I gave them to all my friends.
Yes. Don't you love that?
So it's passing their items on.
Yes.
Along with something they could use.
Okay, that is a great
and it's
tip.
Super fun.
Because I did that with some of my parents' things to my very, very special friends. And I have friends who've done the same thing for me. So my friend Jenny, when her mom passed, she gave me one of her aprons.
Oh.
And I just thought that was, because she can only use so many aprons.
Yes.
But she wanted me to have something. And I have done the same thing with tablecloths or with beautiful pictures or something, because we can only all use so much stuff. Yeah. But it's a way that they know that it has meaning.
Yeah. And it's keeping them, you're giving them a piece of your, your heart a little
and
bit.
It's especially, I think, wonderful if they knew that person.
Yes.
If they knew that person, it's especially touching. Well, I love all of this. So who is the artist behind Hedwig?
That would be my son.
Okay, that is just wonderful. Yes, a Lego Hedwig, and obviously also a fan of Harry Potter. And fun little shades. I've got this exact same lamp that I got thrifted. And you are fortunate that you have this wonderful canvas upon which you can express your personality and your collections and your penchant for maximalism.
Yes.
You're just really, really fortunate, and you've created a great balance, I think.
Oh, thank you.
Because many of our followers out there are true maximalists, and I've got the tension. I feel the tension between your husband's aesthetic and my own aesthetic, and which is probably a little bit more maximalist. But over time, we do have to live in our spaces.
Yes.
And so how much you can have out becomes an issue, and how much you can take care of is also an issue.
Yes.
And fortunately, you have the space to be able to do it. Look at this wonderful table. And this is definitely an expression of just, if you like it, use it. So the tablecloth charmingly does not match the plaid on the cushions, or that this also looks like a William Morris pattern.
It is, yeah.
On the pillows, and you've just expressed yourself beautifully with the flowers, and it just, again, it captures a beautiful still life and a beautiful moment.
Thank you. I'm a big believer in plaid. It goes with everything. Any color plaid.
Plaid is a neutral.
It is a neutral.
Plaid
And
is
no
a
matter the
neutral.
color, no matter the, the tartan print, it just goes with everything. So you can use it as a neutral background.
So this round table is giving me ideas. I have, well, you've been to my cottage, and I've got kind of a rectangular oval, that makes sense, table in my kitchen area. And I've often thought, well, maybe I would like a round table better. So it's something that I have the luxury to do because I live in a small space. So I can switch things out without feeling as if it's, or thinking it's still an option, and it's not always, from a cost perspective, prohibitive. But look at your flowers, look at the little tea set, look over here. I mean, these are all just, yeah, the tea set, wonderful candle holders, and wonderful tapers.
Mm-hmm. Those are stick candle tapers.
They're wonderful.
And they are, the company is really neat. They make molds of the actual stick, hemlock, birch, I mean, all the different types of trees. Then they, from those molds, then they will formulate each of the different candles. And it's just breathtaking. And they burn really well as well.
And they, don't drip. I wouldn't be able to bear to burn them though.
I do burn them.
No length of time. But why have stuff if you're not going to use it? Okay, I think really another marker of a good friendship is a friend who brings you treats. So you brought me, these are delicious. Oh my gosh. Amaretto
cookies.
Oh my gosh.
And these have a little chocolate chip in them. Sometimes they don't.
And they're delicious, and they're very good with a cup of coffee or hot tea. Okay, so now I want to be more granular here, because sometimes I think you can look at it and you can say, oh, well, that's all fine and good. But specifically, what do I need to do? So I think number one, it's like, are you comfortable being the first person out on the dance floor? No, most of us are not. But to get a party going, somebody has to be first. And so I think that's an important, it's an important reminder in establishing friendships. Somebody has to go first. Somebody has to make the first move. And you have to have either real or fabricated confidence to be able to do that. And you have to sometimes be willing to go outside of your comfort zone, and just know that you might be rejected. And maybe having nothing to do with you, just having to do with that person's life situation. They just don't have any bandwidth for you right now. Okay, so when you first approached me to go to Bradford House and do that, we of course had already met, but we hadn't talked in a while or whatever. Were you uncomfortable in inviting me and approaching me? Did you?
No, I wasn't. Because I really just thought, well, if you're busy, you're busy, and I understand. I think, but that is my personality. And I know some people, it is harder to make those choices. You say out on the dance floor, I was the personality that I was the first person out on the dance floor.
Me too, but I can't do the other thing.
Okay, so I guess but I really did, I've always kind of been the person that, I'm willing to put myself out there, and if it doesn't work, I mean, in high school, I called the most popular guy and asked him out on a date.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, and then was rejected terribly, and it was terribly embarrassing, and it was the laughing stock, and it was just,
But I didn't even care because I'm like, well, at least I asked.
Okay, so there's a tip. Do you care or not? Because I wouldn't say that I'm the kind of, people would find this surprising. I'm not the kind of person that would just easily, and I moved around a lot. Maybe it's because I moved around so much. I felt like I was always the new person or whatever. Now, it's something that I have actively worked on as I've gotten older to get out.
Practice,
Yeah, it really does take practice. Let me give you an example of that. So, and I've maybe shared this with you before, but I was out walking in the neighborhood and I saw somebody in the neighborhood. I recognized this is a national personality, a news personality, and I saw him, recognize him. Oh my gosh. And confirmed that it was indeed Mike Betcher, who's a CNN, blah, 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 blah. And then I thought, I really would like to get to know him.
You did this one well.
Yeah. And I was kind of, intimidated. So a friend of mine knew where he lived. And so one day I just thought, I'm just going to walk up to their house and just knock on the door and just say,
Hard.
I'm fangirling. Yeah, I'm fangirling here. Because when people come up to my door to meet me or to see the garden, I know we've got that in common. But I didn't know anything in common other than
we have walking in common.
Walking in common. Yeah. And of course, obviously, they were both very gracious when I said something. So I just walked to the door, and he didn't answer, but she did, and now I consider them friends. They've been over to our house. We have, done some things. We text each other. Oh, I saw this. It reminded me of you.
Wow.
And I think it's those little things where you do have to kind of get outside of your comfort zone. And the thing is
well, and it might not always work.
And it might not always work. They could have said, no.
That's the positive
This is creepy.
direction.
Yeah, this is creepy.
Yeah.
Don't show up on my doorstep. But the thing is, even if it had not worked out, I had already given myself the pet talk, but you would have been so disappointed had you not tried.
Absolutely.
And no guts, no glory. And I tried to be as gracious and, polite as possible and everything. But if it hadn't worked out, then I would have been proud of myself for having gumption. And I think that's it. It's a testament to, do you have gumption? Do you have, and can you learn to have gumption even at an advanced age? Stuart, you've got a point.
It can be really hard for me, but it seems like it's really about not taking it personally when someone rejects you, because it's not really about, it's there where they are, they don't want whatever. It's just so hard not to take it personally, and some people are better at not taking things personally than other people.
Yeah, and sometimes it's just what you've got going on in your own life right now. That person could have just found out they had breast cancer.
Yeah.
That person could have just, and it's not something they want to share with you, but it's just not really, it's not really a good time.
Well, and sometimes you put yourself out there and you actually do commit and you think, oh, this is really cool. Like, this is great. And then it goes the other direction.
And it goes the other direction.
Then you have to rewind.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, maybe I don't think this is going to work out.
Yeah.
And we don't really, this maybe isn't the person that I want to be friends with anymore.
Yeah.
And, and then you're like, well, okay, I need to figure out how to
establish boundaries and
get myself out of this.
Well, I think that's just the nature of friendships. But again, no risk, no reward.
Absolutely.
So one of the reasons that I wanted to move to this neighborhood, I've shared this with both of you guys, is that I felt like I didn't have as much connection to my neighborhood as I used to. My kids weren't young anymore. I just felt like I wasn't meeting new people. It wasn't convenient for me to be around interesting new people. And I felt that moving this way, closer to downtown, sidewalks, more walkable, that I would have more of that feel and that sensibility. And that was validated by friends that I had that already lived in this area. And sure enough, that has turned out to be so...
Yeah, you love it here.
Oh, I do.
So
I know.
amazing.
Yeah, I do love it here. But not only that, I now have my same friends that I had before, but I also have a lot of friends now that are younger because there's so many young families here.
Yeah.
And when I say younger too, little kiddos.
Yeah.
And so, you may call it creepy, but I do things. I do things to entice them, So who knew that putting a doggy bowl out there for dog walkers would be an opportunity to make so many friends.
Oh, I bet they love that.
Because you can stop and you can start up a conversation with anybody. Having a garden has helped tremendously because people will stop and visit with you.
They got to see it go from a yard to a garden.
Garden,
too.
and that starts up all sorts of conversations. More people walk by because you have a garden or because you've got a dog bowl.
Well, for you, I feel like it's kind of a community. I mean, it's the whole community around you.
It is, yeah. It's
I mean,
very important to me.
Yes.
It really is very important to me, especially as I get older. You want to know that there's going to be people who have your back if you fall and you have a triple compound fracture, if you fall off the ladder, or people who are just, this is an urban area, so I feel more comfortable that people, a lot of people say, oh, how can you stand it with all these houses so close together? Oh, for me, that gives me a sense of security because my neighbors, they know what's going on, and I could practically shout, help, I've fallen and can't get up. And they would come over.
Yeah.
But it's a decision that you kind of proactively make. And then I think you have to know on a continuing basis that those people are welcome. So, are you the kind of person, and there's no right or wrong way. There's just different types of people. And I would imagine that you're the type of person that I could drop by and I could knock on your door and poke my head in and say, hey, Michelle, are you home? And you'd be okay with that.
Oh, yeah. But I think sometimes too, people don't, it's hard to convey to people that that's okay. I feel like it's gotten harder as I've gotten older. I think that is harder for people, especially you live in a community that it's much more, it's a little bit easier to do that. I do think it depends on the type of community you live in. I live in a more suburban area, and I live on land. So it's a whole different, there is a different, and that's a little bit of a different beast. And I kind of miss the sense of community of living closer
together
to people. Yeah. Because of that exact reason, I mean, it doesn't mean necessarily every day that you want to get in a conversation with somebody,
Then you lock the door and you hide.
But there is a a comfort in knowing that you have people around you that if something happens, then you've got people there that can help. And it's so important. We talked before we started this, when we were talking this morning, we talked about, if you look at the blue zones. Did you want to talk about that? If you look at the blue zones, I mean, one of the key factors and the reason why the people are living as long as they are is because of the sense of community, is because of the maintenance of relationships around them, building relationships, and maintaining those relationships. It's so important in order for life extension. I mean, you have to have it. You can't be solitary. You can still have solitary tendencies without completely making yourself solitary. And I think I do think that's what's harder now, especially I've seen that with a lot of even my friends as I've gotten older is, it's okay to be introverted. It's okay to not need to feed that tank as much. However, you can still find ways to incorporate yourself and have some friendships or even have a relationship. Sometimes, simply by having a romantic relationship will also help that.
Oh, yeah.
Maintaining a romantic relationship, doesn't mean you need to have 1,000 friends. You can also just have one. And that really is. I mean, I think people get caught up in needing to, go to a place that has a lot of people. That's wonderful too, if you're the personality that can handle that. It also, though, can be maintained with one or two,
And it's interesting, I think. We look at somebody, I think we make presumptions about them, about how they probably are. I'm actually not an extremely social person, but I can be, and I encourage it. I encourage it on occasion. So let's talk about just some very specific things. So one of the recommendations I would make is if you're moving to a new neighborhood or whatever, put out a dog bowl. Have a thing where you've got dog biscuits. This may be sound kind of creepy, but there are so many kids, young kids, dads pushing a stroller with other kids, and they're walking by. I have made so many kids in the neighborhood because there'll be like somebody who trips and falls in front of my house, and they've scraped their knee, and their parents, they've got a baby in a stroller, and I'll say, oh my goodness, do you have a boo-boo? Maybe I have something for that, and I'll come inside and get a popsicle or something.
Yeah.
And the parents are thrilled, and the kid then remembers me the next time they come by. Oh yeah,
I hear Miss Linda yelled from around this neighborhood.
Oh yeah, Miss Linda, Miss Linda. Do you have any popsicles, Miss Linda?
Yeah.
And I think it's, again, it's a matter of degree. But my sister and her husband, first of all, they didn't even get married until they were in their 50s, and they live in an area that's more like yours. It's more of a neighborhood, suburban neighborhood. But they're extremely social. And this year, they had a young couple who lived across the street. They're probably I think in their 30s. And they held the wedding for them in their garden.
Wow.
Okay. Simultaneously, they have two sisters that they call the girls that are in their 90s that live in the other house. And they constantly are having the girls over to their house for tea or to watch the Academy Awards or something like that. And they give different things.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you want young people in your life to energize you. Sometimes I'll just feel down, and I can call somebody across the street and say, what are you doing? And they'll say, oh, nothing. The kids are kind of bored. Bring the kids over because I kind of need a hug.
Yeah.
And maybe some refrigerator art. And they're thrilled.
Yeah.
Mom's thrilled to get them out of the house. They can come over here. They can, and so I think it's just mostly, and I don't want to go on too much longer, but mostly it's just people that nourish you in one way or another on a deep or a superficial level.
Absolutely.
Tanks, right?
Yeah. And just to kind of wrap it up, be willing to come outside of your comfort zone. Be willing to go up to somebody at, I don't know, where you're both volunteering at the same thing, and go up and be the first to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And practice small talk. What can I say? It was the next opening line or whatever.
Well, and I think people, you utilize technology. I know everybody, yes, you want to do in person, but utilizing technology of
it's so
exchanging a phone number, and then people anymore, as long as you maintain boundaries within the time of day you text people, but people don't mind receiving a text message, and some people like email, and if you get close enough to them that then they say email me is better or whatever. But I do think utilizing technology to kind of keep it to where it's like, hey, you kind of keep yourself open without totally throwing yourself in there. And, sending things of like, this reminded me of you. And then, they can just say, oh, okay, that's so cool.
The other thing is select your friends based on things that you want to learn.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn about new things, then that's another time to make a new friend. You're really into art and into whatever. And so based on that, my husband now will send you pictures of stuff that he's seen around the world or whatever, based on Michelle's interest in art. And I think it's all of those kind of little popcorn pieces. One kernel pops and then something else pops. And then before too long, you may introduce me to one of your friends, and I may introduce Michelle to one of my friends. I already have. So, and I just think...
Well, and you're better for it. You're better for it to have a rounded, even a little people that are different than you. It's so important to just have, you want commonalities, but you want people to bring, you want to see what they are, what they hold, and the neat things that they do that you might never do, but you're like, this is so amazing that that I know somebody that can do this,
I know it's so true. My sister that just got married in her 50s, she was a working professional for years, owned her own home or whatever, but she was proactively thinking about what she could do to have a supportive community when she got old, because she didn't have children. So she has just this really vital relationship with her nieces and nephews. They, believe me, would have taken care of her in her old age. Now she's got a husband, but they still will. And for some people it's their church. For some people it's their yoga group. For some people it's the people, that it's their work family.
Absolutely.
But it's as you get older, it's important to think about those things. Who's going to be my network if I get older and I'm all alone? And I don't think it's being exploitive to make younger friends who may be able to take care of you in your old age, or who will look out for you.
That absolutely is important too, because I look at the age difference between my husband and I is 11 years. And it's like the likelihood of me outliving him is very great. So that means I actively need to have a supportive environment around me of people that, will continue my longevity if my husband, if he leaves before I do.
Yeah.
And that is something that, and it's not to be morbid, but it's just the reality,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's something to think about. If your husband's not available, who can you call if you've fallen and you can't get up? I mean, do you have somebody? I have a kind of a pact with a friend of mine that whenever they call, I will always answer.
Yeah.
And whenever she calls, I will always answer. And because it might be something that's the other thing, and then we might end on this, is I think it's also to have, especially as you get older, to have someone that checks in on you regularly. So I've got a friend, and we call it Ladies Living Solo, and I will happily be one of your ladies living solo. But whenever our husbands, respectively, are out of town, for the duration of that period of time, every single morning we check on each other.
oh, that's nice.
So she will say, don't have to text, just want to know, are you up? Are you still there? Just when we call it LOL or LLS, Ladies Living Solo. So when we're living solo, she checks on me, I check on her, just making sure that everything is okay. And I think that's a wise thing to do, even if you're young and single.
Yes.
Especially if you're young and a working professional woman. A lot of you out there you travel a lot, you may not be married, but you always have somebody that you always can check in with, so that if something goes awry.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have that person there that will, and the group there, if it's multiple people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will be
I
there.
love that.
I will be there for you, sweet pea. I will be there for you. Well, we hope that you've enjoyed this little discourse on friendship. I think it becomes more important. It changes over time. But as we get older, and with loneliness as an epidemic, I think it's really incumbent upon us to be proactive about finding people that we want to have in our lives.
Thank you for asking me to comment on this.
You
This
bet.
is so wonderful.